I think because from my own personal experience, I feel China just has to be rule of law and by law. Because when I found government officials in People's Congress, because according to Chinese law, People's Congress is the only institution in China that could supervise legally the work of the government, the court, and the procuratory body. And yet, I found mayors in some of the committees in the People's Congress. I mean, it's a simple thing. How can an athlete be a referee at the same time, right? So then, according to the Constitution, I set aside every Tuesday afternoon to meet with my constituents. Because being a deputy, if I don't know the needs and demands of the people around me, how can I represent them? And then, of course, also according to an article in the Constitution, that I give reports back to my constituents every now and then, telling them how I voted at each session, because they are the ones who have gotten me in. They have to know how I behave, because I feel absolute power produces absolute corruption. Now, the person who has the power to supervise has to be supervised. And that is something new in China. Well, because of our culture. China is a family-oriented culture. In the family, the daddy has the final say. It's always been top-down. So in a way that this has reinforced autocracy and totalitarianism.
And so if you think of Bill Clinton, President Clinton, as a politician, he is driving social change through his foundation. You might call him a social entrepreneur, you might not, but you are both a politician and a social entrepreneur. How do you find it possible to combine those two roles? Because there must be tensions.
Because I think the most important thing is I want change. I want to change the system itself. And that's why it's going to be a long-term struggle. And that's why I've been telling people that I'm on a long, long march, much longer the party took. Because I have to fight against 2,400 years of feudalism. And to me, I feel, since the Communist Party took over, in a way, it has reinforced feudalism or officialdom, top-down. But I want to change it to become bottom-up, or that we could meet somewhere, bottom-up and top-down. Because with bottom-up, then you are sure that it's going to be stable, you get the people's support. When I say people, it means both men and women. Because in this conference, we have been talking about energy. We have been talking about competitiveness. We've been talking about capital. But I feel it's so important to have human capital, human investment, human initiative. And human includes men and women, especially women. Because here I would like to share with you what my mom told me when I was a little girl. My mom told me that I am a human being before I am a girl. I think that is very important. So, yes, I want to clap for that. Yes, and
it's
men as
from
well,
all over.
because it takes two to tango. Men and women have to work together, and they have to respect each other. And that's why, like this time, my husband is always with me, because he is my great supporter, no matter what I do. I think it is so important, because if in this world 51% of women are not tapped into, then the innovation is very, very small. But if we could tap into every individual, every little girl, then things will be different, and we can make even greater progress.
And I would just like to celebrate on all of our behalves your husband who is here, and just to say something, which is the title of this session is The Power of Unreasonable People. It was the title of a book that I did a couple of years ago with Pamela Hartigan, now at the Skull Centre at Oxford University. But the original language comes from an Irish playwright who basically said, change in the world doesn't come from reasonable people because they accept the world as it is. It's the unreasonable people who drive change forward. Living with unreasonable people is rarely easy, and just celebrating the role of families in all of this. Let me come on to Fadi. And if this is a question, and I'm going to ask of all three of you, was there a moment when you suddenly woke up and thought, in addition to being a human being, I want to be an entrepreneur, I really want to change the world? Or did that just gradually creep up on you?
First, I want to start by saying I am definitely not as unreasonable as Wu Jing here. So
we only have your word for that.
But yes, look, people who feel that the status quo is not tenable and that feel that they need to do something about it are normally unreasonable people, because when you look at things and say, this does not work, I don't accept it, and I'm gonna do something about it, and then automatically you become an entrepreneur or a revolutionary or an evolutionary, somebody that is going to say, I am, by definition, going to go out and do something about this. So, yeah, I mean, when I launched my business 29 years ago now, I was only 22 years old. Now, I didn't know what it meant and where I was going to be.
Can I ask a question? Was there a family background of business, or were you the first?
No, but there was a family background of revolutionaries.
Okay.
So my grandmother decided to learn how to drive when she was 56 years old, and she decided to go to school at 55 years old.
Amazing.
She decided to learn that I can't sit with my grandchild, which is me, who was maybe 7 or 8 years ago, and he can read and I can't. So I remember very early on, she would sit me on her lap, and she would actually be proud to be able to read a couple of sentences on in a newspaper. Instead of me being proud, she was the proud one. So
it is so important, because if in this world 51% of women are not tapped into, then the innovation is very, very small. But if we could tap into every individual, every little girl, then things will be different, and we can make even greater progress.
And I would just